Hello everyone and welcome back to this very exciting video. Today, Brandon and I are going to talk about our top 10 favorite grunge albums. And grunge for me is my favorite genre of music. Now I'd say rock overall, but more specifically grunge. And Brandon's someone I've never collabed before. I've collabed with someone named Brandon, but a different one here. And Brandon, how are you today?
Doing good, doing good. I'm really excited to do this video because grunge is also, I would say, it's got to be my favorite genre too. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this. Basically, something about me, I do YouTube videos too. I think we met through like TikTok, and yeah, so I'm really excited to do this. I'm very excited for the grunge talk.
The grunge talk, that's the best way to describe it. But yeah, like I used one of his sounds on like a TikTok video, and then you had DM'd me, and I ranked the MTV Unplugged songs on, and then you had DM for
Mm,
Nirvana, and then you DM me, and then it just kind of went, and then you started watching my videos, and then I saw your covers on YouTube too, and his covers
yep,
are amazing. All of his stuff will be linked down below for sure. But without
appreciate
further
it.
ado, let's get into our honorable mentions. Brandon, you can go first.
All right, so this was really hard to put this list together, so I know I'm going to get some heat in the comments, but my honorable mentions is we're going to start out number one. It's going to be Bad Motor Finger, Soundgarden. That's a great album, but just couldn't do it. Super Unknown, Soundgarden, another hot take, I feel like. Then we got the self-titled Alice in Chains one, Three-Legged Dog. Love that album a lot, but not enough for the 10. Um, the Above Mad Season album, really good album, but that one was like probably number 10. It was really close, but I couldn't do that. And then Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. That's gonna be my honorable mentions.
Great. You'll see some of those on my list, and honestly, I haven't fully listened to Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. I've been meaning to do a I finally listened to video on it, which I will soon, especially after this video, but I haven't fully
Mm-hmm.
listened to it, but you'll hear about Smashing Pumpkins on it. But for my honorable mentions, I have like five or something like that. First up is the Stone Temple Pilots Core. This is a great album. This is like one of the more recent ones that I've listened to. Like that I've found I haven't listened to for months. That's what I'm trying to say. And then we have Soundgarden Down on the Upside. This is in no particular order. Soundgarden Down on the Upside, Pearl Jam's Vitology, fantastic album, and I love this CD with the case and all that. And then we share the same one, and that is Soundgarden's Bad Motor Finger. This is some of my favorite Soundgarden songs. Like the first four are just absolutely perfect. Rusty Cage
Yeah.
Outshine, Slaves and Bulldozers, and Jesus Christ Pose are amazing. And then I will also throw in Tripod or the self-titled album, whatever you want to call it, by Alice in Chains. And I think it's worth mentioning Sap by Alice in Chains. And we are
Mm-hmm.
going to be including Sap and Jar of Flies. I think that one's just worth mentioning because there's actually a hidden song on it, but the four that are on there are incredible. Just not love
I would
song.
agree.
That one's not the greatest. But let's get into the list. Brandon, what's your number 10?
All right, so my number 10 is going to be In Utero, Nirvana. So, I mean, it's a great album. I feel like In Utero is the best of what Bleach brought with the rawness and like just heavy power and really what grunge is. And then it like brings some of the melodic of like Nevermind. And I feel like it combines that really well. So, I'm not the hugest Bleach fan, so I think In Utero is like the better version of that. It's more raw, it's more Nirvana, but it's not like that. It's still got some like hooks and everything. So like All Apologies, Heart Shaped Box, Rate Me, Dumb, Serve the Servants, just great songs all around. So
I totally agree, and this one is on my list, don't worry. And it's a
uh,
little bit higher up, so I won't talk about it. But In Utero is just a fantastic album. The only reason it gets knocked back a bit for me is because of the song Tourette's. It's one of the
mm,
only Nirvana songs. I'm just like, I skip it every
I
time. But
agree.
I like some of the other songs are not the greatest, like Milk It and
Yeah,
Very Ape are like I think they're like good, and Scentless Apprentice, like they're good. There's also good
yeah,
aspects to it. They're just
yeah.
not the greatest overall, but Heart Shaped Box is my favorite Nirvana song. All Apologies is number two, and songs like Rape Me is another one of my favorites. I love Dumb. I love it so much, but I will talk about this song a little bit later. I probably talk too much about it now. But my number 10 here, I actually, when making my list, I gotta throw in another honorable mention. I meant this was originally on my list, but then when I had another one, and that is Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins. Fantastic album. Just every song is so great. But coming in at number 10 for me is Versus by Pearl Jam. And Pearl Jam, if you don't know, is my favorite band of all time. And their follow-up to their debut album, Versus, is just incredible overall. It has some of my favorite Pearl Jam songs, whether that's Rearview Mirror, Animal, Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town. Yes, it's a handful to say. Dissident, The Daughter. Like, there's just so many here. It may not be my favorite by Pearl Jam, but it just sounds amazing. I love the raw vocals by Eddie Vedder here, and the guitar is kick-ass as always. Everything about it is really, really great.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. You'll see Versus on my list a little later too, but definitely one of the best Pro Jam has brought
Oh
us
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and
So
Leash is awesome live. I've seen that
yeah.
live. It's
Oh,
so good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So number 9 for me is going to be Jar of Flies, and I combined it with Sap, but even without Sap, we'll just keep it with Jar of Flies. So Jar of Flies, great album by Alice in Chains. Well, if it's an album, EP, but I'll call it an album.
Yeah.
Rotten Apple. I feel like start to finish, this EP album is like it never misses really. Like there's no. I mean, the last song is okay. Swing on This, it's okay,
Hmm.
but it's still up there. So we got Rotten Apple, No Excuses, gotta be one of my favorites. I Stay Away, one of my favorites. Nutshell, obviously, like every Alice in Chains fan, classic. So you can't beat Jar of Flies.
I totally agree. That one is very high up, is what I meant to say, on my list. So I won't
Gotcha.
talk too much about it. But that album, I mean, I could include it with Sap, and I mean, technically I will. But yeah, it's my favorite EP of all time. It's perfect, but I'll talk about that later. Coming in at number 9 for me is one that I think I already talked a little bit too much about, and that is In Utero by Nirvana. And you're rocking the Nirvana shirt, so that's
That's
great,
right.
great to see. And I really love this album. I kind of already talked about it, but there's just a few songs that I don't absolutely love. But it's one of those where it has a song I don't like, which is Tourette's, but it's still one of my top 15, 20 favorite albums because the good songs, or at least the great songs, in my opinion, some of the greatest of all time, like Heart Shaped Box, easily one of the greatest. All Apologies and Dumb just like really hurts you. Rate Me is such an important song. I love it so much. Serve the Servants is an awesome opening. And I still like, even on the lesser songs like Scentless Apprentice, I still love the drums and the guitar riff there. So overall, it's a fantastic album.
Definitely agree with that. Couldn't agree more. I love that album.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so number 8, as you talked about earlier, Core on your honorable mentions. Core, Stone Temple Pilots, great album. I love this album so much. It could be the best Stone Temple Pilots album, but I don't think so. So that's a little hint for later.
Ooh.
But yeah, Plush, Sex Type Thing, Dead and Bloated, Creep, Cracker Man. It's just they literally from start to finish. I feel like that album, aside from maybe a few songs in the middle, is just fantastic. And I feel like Stone Temple Pilots a little like underrated when you talk about grunge. I feel like we mostly talk about like the Seattle scene, but like Stone Temple Pilots, one of the best for sure. One of the best.
Oh, I will totally agree with that. I really love, I think, almost basically every single song on that one. Like there may be like one or two and they're like shorter ones. And the only reason it's not on mine is because I haven't listened to it as much as most people. But some of the songs, I think it's Plush, which is like my favorite Stone Temple Pilots song. And spoilers, this is my favorite Stone Temple Pilots album. So
Okay.
it says a lot. It barely missed the list. Like we're
Yeah.
talking about some of the greatest albums of all time here in this video, people.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Coming in at number 8 for me is one that I'm not sure if it's on your list. I know not everyone loves it, but I really do, and that is Mother Love Bone's Apple.
Okay.
I really love this album. Like, I love every single song. I don't care what anyone says. Like, yes, Crown of Thorns works better as Chloe Dancer Crown of Thorns, but still, this has some of my favorite rock songs ever. And I understand some people find Andy Wood's voice to be a little too glam rock, but I think overall you can hear the beginning of Pearl Jam, which is, as I said many times, my favorite band of all time, and just so many songs here. Stardog Champion is my favorite. Like, when I used to play Blast Ball, I don't know if you know what blast ball is. It's
Mm-mm.
when it's like very young kid. I don't even know how old I've been, like 5 or something, and you hit the
Mm-hmm.
ball, whatever, off the tee, and then you run and you jump on the base, and it like makes a sound, and that's what it
Okay.
is. That's all it
Okay.
is. And on my way to those games and hockey games, my dad would always play Stardog Champion because apparently I liked the kids singing like near the end of the song. And I've actually reacted to some of the songs, but like Captain High Top is like an essential pregame song. Stargazer is beautiful. There's so many. I could talk about this album forever.
Yeah, I see Mother Love Bone. I appreciate for what it is, and I honestly think everybody loves that album. But I've listened to it, and it's just not my favorite thing ever, to be honest. I think it like the music is really good, but Andy Wood, in my opinion, no disrespect, but it's just his singing's not my favorite. It's not my favorite like type sound. So I've never been like a huge fan of it, but I get what you mean.
Yeah,
So.
I understand. Like I've seen many opinions of people saying like, "Oh, I don't love it exactly," and I'm like, "All right,
Mhm.
like of course everyone's entitled to their own opinion." But for me personally, I'm just like when I listen to it, I'm like, "This is so awesome."
Yeah, I respect. I respect. All right, so for number 7, I got Yield for Pearl Jam. So
Ooh.
Yield, kind of an outside box, but I think it's one of the best Pearl Jam albums for sure. We got Do the Evolution, Given to Fly, Wishless, In Hiding, just great songs all around. I feel like it definitely showed like a shift in like their sound. I would say it's less grunge than like what they've made before in the past before that album. I think it is coming to more what they sound now, but Yield, just great album. I love the album like a lot, and I honestly argue that it could be the best one. And I kind of I don't sometimes I can't decide, but
Yeah. Switch back and forth. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great album. It's one of my favorite Pearl Jam albums as well. Like Wishlist it's like such an underrated song. I listened
Hmm.
to it live when I watched Pearl Jam Touring Band 2000, which is like recorded
Hmm.
of one song from like every different location they went to like during their one tour. And when I saw Wishlist on there, I was like, this song is amazing. Whoops. And then during Given to Fly, Eddie started dancing with a woman who was doing like sign language up on stage for everyone, and that like really made that song special. That one's always stuck in my head. Just the
Hmm.
fly, like the
Yeah,
raspiness in it too is
yeah, for
always
sure.
stuck in my head, and
Great
it's
song.
a fantastic album, I think. Coming in at number 7 for me is one that you already mentioned, and that is Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains. This one was insanely hard to rank on here. Like I didn't have it on until right before recording because I always was like, okay, it's an EP, so I'll leave it off. But when talking about grunge, you need this. This is an essential listen during sad boy hours. This one just it's so beautiful. As you mentioned, the whole set list, like Rotten Apples is a great start. The whole na 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 like always gets stuck in my head. Nutshell was my favorite Alice in Chains song for the longest time. It's been passed by a few others, but it's still a fantastic song. And that MTV Unplugged performance hurts so much. And then I Stay Away is great. No Excuses, and even like Whale and Wasp is just
Well,
such this like almost eerie sense of music, and it fits perfectly on the album, I think. And then it goes into Don't Follow, which is just such an emotional song. When Lane starts singing like Forgotten My Woman, Forgotten My Friends, like that, I'm just like, oh, this really,
yeah.
really hurts. It's such a painful and oddly beautiful album at the same time.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Will and Lost. That is very just a beautiful. Just I don't know how it gets by with just a guitar solo, but it is just it's
Exactly.
amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, for sure. All right, so number 6 for me, speaking of Alice in Chains, is going to be Facelift. Facelift, obviously first Alice in Chains album. Got Man in the Box, just could be the best Alice in Chains song, could be. Um, it ain't like that. We Die Young was my favorite Alice in Chains song for a while. Bleed the Freak, Love Hate Love, that one performance, I forget where it is, but
Live
that
at the
live.
Moor,
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah,
1990.
that one is just ridiculous. His I feel like his vocals really like shine in this one. I feel like in this album in particular. So definitely is going to be my number 6.
That one is in my top 4 or 5, I will say that, and it is. I
Um,
mean, I'm repping the facelift shirt. right
course,
now.
of
And
course.
as you mentioned, that performance at the Moore Theater in 1990 is just mind-blowing. One of the greatest concerts I've ever seen. Like obviously when I say I've seen the live, what I mean is that I saw the
Yeah, yeah.
video of it. But Love Hate Love might be my favorite song on the album. It's between, I know it's basic, but it is between that and Man in the Box, which is one of the
Yeah, I mean,
greatest songs of all time. It's just the vocals are crazy, and I love the way in that performance Lane leans back on the microphone, and you can see like all the veins in
mhm,
his neck really tense up because he's hitting these insane notes and with the rasp to it as well. I
yeah,
think it's honestly perfect. Facelift, in my opinion, is a perfect album, but I will talk more about it later.
couldn't agree more.
Speaking of Lane Staley here, coming in at number 6 for me is Mad Seasons Above. And I know this was
Okay.
in your honorable mentions, but
Yeah.
to me, this one, a lot like Jar of Flies, and actually a lot of Alice in Chains music, like we'd say that about the self-titled one as well, is
Mm,
very pain-filled, and you really feel it here. And I did reactions to 4 of the songs. I think I'll link them up here and down below. But oh my God, like up here, I don't know which side it will be on, but it starts off with a wake up, and to me, like when I listened to it, it felt like a personal calling, if that makes sense. Like a song that is like destined to, it's over dramatic, but like destined for you to listen to, and it just feels so personal. River of Deceit is the most famous one, and for a reason, it's one of the best on it for sure. It's just so eerie, so like harrowing, but also there's still that beauty aspect to it, and it comes with Lane Staley's vocals. And this is my favorite supergroup. I forgot to mention in my honorable mentions, I would throw in Temple of the Dogs album, but this
mm,
is my favorite grunge supergroup. Mike McCready from Pearl Jam on the guitar has these wicked solos, and November Hotel, even like that whole 8 minute instrumental, is so beautiful. And like Long Gone Day, that's another one. There's some lyrics in there
mm,
that really, that one also might be my favorite on it. There's some lyrics
yeah.
there. There's one where it's like, am I the only one that remembers that summer? That one, when I listened to it, it
Oh.
made me think of the previous summer, and I was like, that one hurt.
Yeah. I love the album a lot. It's just the reason I couldn't put on my top 10 is just some points of it I feel like it drags on a little. And I think the highs are really, really high, like some of the best we've ever seen of Lane Staley in general. But I just yeah, there's some points where it just feels like I'm just like waiting for the next part. So I just never been like in love with it, but it's definitely great album for sure.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean, because that's how I felt when I first listened to it. I loved a bunch of the songs, but there were a few like X-Ray Mind I don't know, like I'm Above, which I didn't love when I first listened to them, but now I
Yeah.
really love them all. And I think that's just something with me, but of course it's how you feel, and that's all right.
Yeah, definitely grows on you for sure. All right, so number 5 for me is going to be Versus. Versus Pro Jam. That's going to be, it's got to be also once again one of the best Pro Jam albums. And if you know, Pro Jam is also my favorite band, if not Alice in Chains. It's one of those.
Oh yeah.
I flipped through them honestly. Next week, this whole list will be different. Let's be honest. But
True.
but yeah, like you said, Rear View Mirror, Daughter, Dissident. I like Rats a lot. Rats is just a great song. Hold On. I don't know if you've heard of Hold On, the
Yeah,
bonus
the
track. You
bonus
have? Okay.
track.
Yeah. Hold On. I think that could be like one of my favorites on the whole album. And I wish it was like on vinyl and stuff. And it's just like nowhere but on Spotify is when I see it.
Yeah.
But
And Crazy Mary. I forgot to mention that
yeah.
one. That one is one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs. When I listened to it, it was one that I feel is so underrated. It's like top
Hmm.
15, 20 for them. And I also love Leash. I forgot to mention those. Sorry to interrupt. But Leash,
There you
or no,
go.
I did mention Leash. Shit. Never mind.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, Crazy Mary, definitely really good. Yeah.
It's awesome. And coming in at number 5 for me is an album that was also on your honorable mentions, but that is Soundgarden's Super Unknown. It is my favorite Soundgarden album. It's most people's, and for a reason. It's quite like a long album compared to their other ones, and to me, it's just absolutely perfect. It has my favorite Soundgarden song, which is oh my God, what is it called? The Day I Tried to Live, which in my opinion is like top 10, 15 songs of all time. I think the message of it, especially of a lot of these songs, are just so impactful and fell on black days. We got My Wave, which was my favorite. It's now my third favorite Soundgarden song. It was my favorite for a while. And then, of course, the iconic Black Hole Sun, which is awesome. And Spoon Man has one of my favorite riffs of all time, if not my favorite grunge, maybe not my favorite, but one of my favorite grunge riffs. And then 4th of July, that the fact that it tells the story of an acid trip, and it's just such a heavy song, and just like, or like Suicide, with the lyrics just like Suicide, is so impactful. Chris Cornell, we miss you. And Super Unknown is also awesome.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I love Superknown a lot. I honestly I haven't been the biggest like Chris Cornell fan for a while, and which is or I like his singing a lot. Like I actually love it, but I just feel like he's never been like one of my favorites out of the few. He's slowly become like creeping up on the list, but that's just why I don't have his albums like as high up. But yeah, Super Unknown, great album. Like Black Hole Sun, Fell on Black Days, My Wave, everything you said. Like Suicide is really good. Just
Yeah.
a great album all around.
Yeah, Chris Cornell is my favorite. Like, Pearl Jam's my favorite band, but Chris Cornell is my favorite singer of just all.
Okay.
Like, I love his voice. I love it in Audio Slave 2, Temple of the Dog. His cover of Nothing Compares to You is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. There's another reaction for you guys to check out down below, but it's just that one hurts. But yeah, I miss Chris Cornell a lot.
Don't we all? Don't we all? All right, so number four for me is going to be Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. That is going to be my favorite Stone Temple Pilots album. I have loved that album for so long, and I feel like every single song is like top tier in my opinion. So, obviously we got Interstate Love Song, that's like the big single from it. And then Vaseline, big single as well. And then we got songs like Unglued, Big Empty, Me Plow, Pretty Penny and Still Remains, like just from start to finish. I put that on vinyl all the time. That's like probably one of my most like listened to vinyls, and it's just start to finish. It's just a great experience. Like I just love Scott Weiland's voice and everything, and it's just great riffs and great guitar, everything.
Yeah, again, that is a fantastic album. It hasn't made my list almost for the same reason that Core didn't. It's just Stone Temple Pilots is a band that I still have not fully consistently gotten into, but there are some songs, especially on that one. I think Big Empty might be my favorite one, but there's so many. Like when you said Vaseline, it just went flies in the Vaseline, just
Yeah,
went straight into my head. And
yeah,
then of course Interstate Love Song is just one of the
no,
most iconic grunge songs ever, and it's like
no,
surprisingly not even one of my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorites, not my favorite, but it's such a fantastic song, and that whole album is really great. It's just another one of those that I just need to listen to more.
for sure, for sure.
Coming in at number four for me, I think I kind of already gave it away. That is Facelift by Alice in Chains. And I always say Pearl Jam is my favorite band of all time, but Alice in Chains, I think, was probably the most consistent grunge band, at least during the grunge
Mhm.
era. That whole like 1990, 91 to like, let's say like 96 kind of. They were probably the most consistent, although Pearl Jam is now, of course, made a bunch, but Facelift has, it's just every single song top tier. Top tier. It starts off with We Die Young, and then of course it goes into the iconic Man in the Box. Just it's such a like a simple riff, but it really just really affects you. Love Hate Love is maybe my favorite from it. Just such a I love when the live in the more performance, he's like, this song is about pain. It's called Love, Hate, Love. And then everyone's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, every Alice in Chains song is about pain. Come on. But that one, you can really feel it here. And Confusion is one that I feel like doesn't get talked about at all, like as much as it should. I love the chorus so much of that one. There's so many, like We Don't Young, Real Thing, Sea of Sorrow is some just beautiful. Bleed the Freak is also another one of my favorite pump up songs. That chorus always gets stuck in my head.
For sure, yeah. What you said as far as Alice in Chains being the most consistent grunge band, I would totally agree with that. Like every single album I've listened to by them, I think is like top tier.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't go wrong with that for sure. I definitely agree. All right, so number three for me is going to be Nevermind by Nirvana. So I think some of the diehard Nirvana fans, I think consider this more of like a normie one, you know, kind of like a poser. If you like this one the most, you're kind of a poser. I don't
I
really
hate
care about
Nirvana
that stuff.
fans. I
Exactly. Like, just shut
hate.
up. Like, just shut up. It's like in my opinion, it's obviously the best one just
Yeah.
because it the amount of like hits that like there's not a single song that's bad on that whole record, I would say. So you know, like "Come as You Are," "Breed" is probably like probably my favorite song on the whole album.
Yeah.
"Lithium," "Lounge Jack," "Drain You," "In Bloom," and not to mention "Smells Like Teen Spirit." So one probably the biggest song of all of grunge. So you just can't
Yes.
go wrong with that album at all.
Yep, that is in my top something. I won't say what place it's in, but that one's one that maybe not to mention too much about it, but every single song is perfect. It has some of the greatest songs I've ever heard, some of the best grunge songs. All of them technically are like some of the best grunge songs. And just to talk about the Nirvana thing, people are probably like, "Hey, you're a Nirvana fan. You probably suck." But I mean like diehard Nirvana fans, like the ones that gatekeep and
Yeah.
say like, if Nevermind's your favorite, then you're not a true Nirvana fan. You never listen to them. If your favorite song isn't this random track from Bleach or
Yeah.
Scentless Apprentice, then you're not the best. Like, I hate when people do that. Don't keep everyone loves so many songs from here, and people absolutely flamed me when I said "It Smells Like Teen Spirit" was my favorite Nirvana song. It isn't anymore. Don't worry. That was a
Yeah.
while
I mean,
ago.
it's
I mean,
fine. Yeah.
there's a reason why it's one of the most famous songs of all time. I have so many good memories with that one, but I'll talk about the full album later. Coming in number three is the last time I will talk about Alice in Chains. I know for sure this is on your list. And coming in
Hmm.
number three is Dirt. And Dirt is just another one of those perfect albums, like start to finish, just absolutely amazing. And it's funny because the first time I listened to this album, there were a few songs that I didn't love, and I was like, "This is a really great album." But then when I listened to it a second time, it was basically like listening to an album for the first time because it just blew me away. I was like, "How did I not discover this?" And it was one of my first reviews on Music Board, an app that I use. It's like for those who are watching like movies, it's like Letterbox for music, where you can log albums, songs, all that. And I wrote like I don't know what I was thinking, but Wood is my favorite Alice in Chains song. I think it's perfect. And Them Bones is just I love how this album starts off with ah. It's so awesome. And then Rooster obviously is a super iconic song. There's just so much here. Down in a Hole is so sad. Angry Chair is one that I really love. I feel like that doesn't get talked about as much as it should. Yes, they played it on MTV Unplugged, but it's just awesome. There's so much here. I could talk about this album forever. It's in my top five favorite albums of all time.
All right, so just to segue off that, my number two is also Dirt. Well, not also, but my number two is Dirt because,
Yeah.
like everything you just said, Dirt is just everything that Alice in Chains ever did right is in this album, and it's literally a masterpiece, honestly. And you
Yep.
can't go wrong with every single song is just tens out of tens, every single one of them. I mean, "Rain When I Die" used to be like my favorite Alice in Chains song. Junkhead. Junkhead's really good. "Sick Man." I'm just trying to think of ones you didn't name.
Sick
Um,
man.
"Sick Man." I just his voice is just perfect in this one. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. Dirt is just a fantastic album, and I really wish I was alive back then to go on that tour and experience that. That would have been insane.
Oh God, yeah. My dad got to see them live after Dirt came out, and I'm like, you are
Whew.
so
I
lucky.
know.
I mean, Lane Staley's one of those that sounds like just as good, if not better, live than he does in the studio. And I know for sure we have the same number one now, but my number two is, as mentioned, Nirvana's Nevermind. And shut up, you Nirvana diehard fans in the comments. It is their best album. Everything about it. It kicks off with, of course, like the most famous grunge song, "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Perfectly goes into "In Bloom," which is probably my favorite song from the album now. Although "Breed" is it always switches between those two. Those two grew on me so much since I first listened to the album and really got into Nirvana. Obviously, you have the Nevermind poster and another Nirvana poster in the background there, so it's awesome. And then we have like really almost heartbreaking songs like "Polly" is really like dark and beautiful, and "Something in the Way" is like the song that really got me into Nirvana because I watched the Batman trailer and then I heard that song. I'm like, that's really good, and I knew Smells Like Teen Spirit, Come As You Are and stuff because of like the gym from months ago before COVID happened and everything closed. And then when I heard that again, and that song really, especially the MTV Unplugged one, it's like the most eerie and atmospheric song for me. It's one of the best songs of the album, although I could say that about almost every song. Drain You, Territorial Pissings, Lithium, of course, one of their most iconic songs, and for a reason. I think everyone loves this album, or at least they should if they don't.
Yeah, to piggyback on what you said, I mean, I forgot all about Polly because Polly was at one point probably my favorite song in the album. It's not anymore. I think I like kind of overhyped it at one point, but it's definitely a great song. But
So good.
and then Smells Like Teen Spirit, like you said that at one point was your favorite song. I wouldn't hate you if it was at all, because I mean it was, like you said, it was one of the greatest grunge songs of all time for a reason. And I just think everybody who hates it is just gatekeeping. I mean, it's a great song, and So all right, so number one, and I'm like you said, I think we know. I think we know what the greatest. I think we know what the greatest grunge album of all time is. Of course, 10 by Pearl Jam. 10 by Pearl Jam. Oh,
Whoa! As this one falls
we didn't
apart because it's
we didn't
literally
plan
broken.
this. We didn't
I didn't
plan
even know
this,
you
guys.
had that there.
But yeah, so of course, we got Alive, Jeremy, Even Flow, and my favorite song of all time for many years, Black.
Black. Yes,
Black,
that's my
let's
favorite
go.
song of all time
Let's
too.
go. We agree on a lot.
Awesome
Oh,
folder.
here we go. But yeah, so and Porch, I think Porch could be one of the best songs on the entire album. I love watching that. I love the live version. So definitely great album.
What the fuck is this world? Run into you. Oh my god, I love that, and I love the MTV Unplugged one when because
Hmm.
he does some crazy shit on like on stage where he's climbing. Like
Yeah.
look up Eddie Vedder climbing. For those who are watching, look up Eddie Vedder climbing, and it's always during Porch, and it's awesome. And then on oh, I did this backwards. Wait, no, I didn't. Sorry, I'm fixing this. During the MTV Unplugged one, what he did is that he took a marker and wrote pro-choice on his arm, which I just think is awesome. And I have the picture of him singing up in my room. They are my favorite band. Kind of go off what you were saying. Pearl Jam is my favorite band of all time. 10 is my favorite album of all time, and Black is my favorite song of all time. It is just this album is absolutely perfect. There is not a single bad song. Every single song on it is perfect. I think like I hate to use the word objectively, but I feel like this is an objectively great album. Like you just have Alive, which has one of my favorite riffs of all time. I love the guitar there. Jeremy tells this insanely heartbreaking story, but finds it in really interesting and intriguing way to tell it. Was basically mean the same thing. And Oceans, even like Oceans is just
Mm,
so beautiful, and even like the ones that rank lower on my list, like Deep and Why Go, are still
yeah.
perfect songs, in my opinion.
Yeah. Definitely, I completely agree with that. And another thing about them, I would say, is as like someone who's been playing guitar for I've been playing for like a year and a half or whatever, and Pearl Jam being my favorite band, I was really excited once I started to get a little good. I was like, hey, I can play Pearl Jam songs. Still can't. I still can't play them. They're all so difficult. Like the songwriting on this album is just insane. It's so just unbelievable. Stone Gossard, Mike McCready, just unbelievable musicians. So couldn't
God.
agree more.
Stone and Mike are just two of my favorites. They're so awesome. And Eddie Vedder, a lot of people like to give him shit for their I wish I found a way out of and on this album, it isn't really that apparent. You still have the
Yeah,
hey, hey,
yeah.
hey, but even here, like it's just the vocals are just so important and impactful, and just like Even Flow is like the greatest pump up song of all time. I think like saying that on stage, the second it starts, I always just go every time. And even like people who are not the biggest Pearl Jam fans, I find that they really love that song because
Oh
it's
yeah,
just that good.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think we could talk about Pearl Jam's 10 forever because, in my opinion, greatest album of all time. I think you said that too. It's your
I
favorite.
would agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been my
definitely.
favorite for a while. There were like Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. Nirvana fans also don't give me shit for that. Nevermind and 10 have all switched around as my favorite, but this one has stuck as my number one for like half a year now. So I think that says enough about it. It's just so good. I'm like tiring myself out talking about it.
Yeah.
It's just
Uh,
really that great. And thank you again, Brandon, for joining me. All of his stuff will be linked down below. This is fun. You're like the perfect person to talk to about this stuff. I mean, we have a ton of the same picks, and we didn't know each other's going into this. It's always more fun not knowing the others and then
yeah.
reacting to it. And like when I found out, like, oh, you didn't have Super Unknown, I was like, what? And then of course, Broken and number one. You know how it is. But what are
Yeah.
your favorite grunge albums or songs or artists, anything like that? Tell us in the comments down below. And Brandon, I hope to see you on the channel again soon. Check out
For
his
sure.
covers. They're really amazing. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.